In this episode, Golden and I discuss Lucifer, Season 5, Part 1. Full speed ahead. Welcome to the Omega Beam number 92. I'm your host, Oren Merton. As you may know, Lucifer, the urban fantasy procedural based on the version of Lucifer originally created in the Sandman series by Neil Gaiman for Vertigo Comics, has moved from Fox TV in the USA to Netflix. As you probably also know, Netflix likes to drop multiple episodes at a time. So last Friday, Netflix dropped Season 5, Part 1, 8 episodes worth. Now, we give some spoilers in this episode, so if you haven't watched, say, the first 2 episodes, there might be a reveal here that you didn't already know. But if you follow the cast on Twitter or Facebook, or you dig deep into the trailer and really analyze it and stuff, you've probably already know what we spoil. So it's not that major, but I feel like we should warn you in advance if you want like nothing spoiled. So with that said, let's go. I am here with Golden to talk about Lucifer, the show based on the Vertigo comic Sandman version of Lucifer.
Season 5, Part 1.
That's right, Season 5, Part 1. So a little background on the series. For those of you who don't already know, the premise of the show is that the devil gets bored of being the Lord of Hell and goes to Los Angeles to run a piano bar. And he ends up as a civilian consultant for a detective in the LAPD. And if it sounds fun to you, the news is good, because the show really is that fun.
And it's even better that supposedly Season 5 was supposed to be the last, and it looks like there may be a Season 6.
Exactly. They're coming back for a Season 6. For those who don't know the kind of history of this show, it was always I guess what they call a mid-ratings show. In other words, its ratings weren't great, but they weren't bad. However, because it was owned by Warner Brothers, it didn't make a lot of money for Fox TV. So they decided to cancel it after, I think it was Season 3. And Netflix picked it up, did Season 4, which did very well. And they decided, okay, we'll do one more season, Season 5. And then apparently they were so happy with how Season 5 was going in production that they started negotiating for Season 6.
And there was a big fan cry about, no, don't cancel Lucifer.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Netflix was very smart because there has been a really big fan community. I remember Tom Ellis, who plays Lucifer and now is an executive producer, was talking about how they had just been at a comic convention in Italy, and the fan base for Lucifer was huge and ecstatic, and they were coming off such a high. And it was in the bus back from this incredible fan experience where a full group of people were incredibly excited about the show that he was told they were canceled by Fox. And he was like, how can this be? We have such an active fan base. But of course, it's always the accountants in the back rooms who are looking at the numbers, and that's where it was decided, not creatively. But it's great that it's back. And it really is a fun show. It's just pure entertainment. And it's done so well.
It's entertainment. It has its humor. It has its drama. It has really well-developed and multi-layered characters.
Right.
It's really a very well-rounded show.
It is. And like all TV shows that last a number of seasons, I think a lot of it does hinge on the cast, their chemistry with each other, and how they grow to inhabit the characters. And I have to say, the main cast for this, Tom Ellis as Lucifer, Lauren German as the detective, Chloe Decker, his partner, Kevin Alejandro as Detective Dan
Who
Espinoza.
apparently directed part of the last episode.
Did he?
What happens at that very last part of the episode. So that was kind of interesting.
That's neat.
I just read that the other day.
That's cool. Yeah, I know I directed one of the episodes last season, and he is a direct. I mean, I know that he's had like short films that have been in film festivals and stuff, and directing is a career direction for him. Oh, that's wonderful. It's going to be so hard not to give any spoilers because
there's going to end up being spoilers because in order to talk about one of the characters that's introduced,
right,
it's a spoiler.
Yeah.
So if you have not watched season 5 yet, or read any of the Lucifer or Tom Ellis Twitter feed,
right,
which are also themselves spoilers with just everything that he keeps saying.
Exactly.
Or other people keep saying, then go and watch it first.
Right.
And I know that it came out on like 12:01 a.m. on a Friday. And it was the Friday before last. And by 5 p.m., I was already seeing people say they had already binged it.
Yeah, the whole thing.
They had already binged the 8 episodes that are part 1 of season 5. And they were loving it. And
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there was a bad episode.
There wasn't.
They were all really just wonderful. And they have a lot of fun with the titles, too.
They do.
Of episodes. It just, it never ends well for the chicken. It was a black and white episode.
Yeah.
They go back and do this film noir episode, which was really, and it wasn't just to do it. It really played into what was going on in the season.
And talk about, again, the cast just really getting along well and gelling. That episode that you mentioned, which was absolutely wonderful and fun, the actors play different characters for that show because it's kind of a story within a story. And one of the things they did, which I also really liked, is for 2 seasons, for seasons 3 and 4, I believe it was, they brought in Tricia Helfer as a character for those seasons. And they all got along fantastically. They had a wonderful rapport. And even though her character isn't part of the story anymore, they brought her in to that story within a story episode just to sort of bring her back and, give the fans another smile because she was a fan favorite.
Yeah, and this is a story being told to a young girl. And the young girl's like, come on, why is the male detective, why does he have to be male? So Tom Ellis's character, Lucifer, changes it to a female. So you're visually seeing a female, but yet still has a wife and everyone still treats her as a guy. And it's really a neat play on just not even worrying about what the gender is.
Exactly. Like a lot of shows that are sort of more serious dramas on major networks like the CSI shows and all the rest. The format of Lucifer, if you're not familiar, it's kind of a procedural where there's a crime of the episode and they solve the crime with the sort of serial story being woven within that week's procedural. But a show like this that is just fun, the procedural is never designed to be sort of documentary, scientifically accurate. I mean, they bring in a certain amount of police work to make it interesting, but it's really about them almost stumbling into solutions using their humor and their wit to find their way through events. And of course, being set in Los Angeles, this isn't set in gritty, grimy, gang-riddled Los Angeles that discusses all the real problems affecting modern LA. This is the fantasy Los Angeles with huge clubs and lots of loud music, and it's definitely a fantasy, and it's a very good version of one.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm reading like the little trivia on it on IMDb, and apparently the dress that Lilith, Leslie Ann Brandt, wears in this episode was a designer by Natalie Hutton, and it took 5 years to design.
Really?
And it is all individually hand-painted, hand-sized, placed red and black metal scales. and it's valued at like $30,000, and it was stolen January 14th out of a car.
Oh, no.
And they have not recovered it yet. It's just a really neat, it was a really incredible season.
Yeah. I think one way we can kind of talk about the big bad without being too specific is by saying that this season, Tom Ellis does not just play Lucifer. That he does play two characters.
Dancing around's not going to... The fact that you have another character, you have his brother Michael in this season, it adds another flavor to it. Because you get another perspective of, this is Lucifer. He's supposed to be the devil. He's supposed to be evil, et cetera, et cetera. And then you have Michael with all of these issues.
Mm-hmm.
We could say daddy issues.
I was going to say, he in a way, he almost comes off as more human, let's say, because of all his psychological issues.
Mm-hmm. And you have throughout the run of the series, and this is not a spoiler, you have throughout the run of the series that Lucifer is vulnerable when he's near the detective. And it's him trying to figure out why is that so?
Mm-hmm.
What's causing this vulnerability? And they delve more into what's causing that or not causing it in this season.
I think it's also worth mentioning that this is something that I think good shows do and do well. So Lucifer is certainly not alone in being able to do this well, but each episode ends on a pretty serious cliffhanger, and you're like, oh, I got to see the next one. And obviously that's what they want. And even the whole part one, the 8 episodes of part one, when it ends, when episode 8 ends, you're just like, oh my God, how long do I have to wait for the next ones?
And do you know what the title of episode 8 was? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
Spoiler alert.
Oh.
Yeah. Like I said, they have fun with the episode names. And you have Amenadil, who's the other angel that's here, and he's got reasons that he's staying because... I'll just say reasons in case you haven't seen the series. I'm still trying to keep it, fairly spoiler free.
Mm-hmm.
But both D.B. Woodside and Tom Ellis are tall men. They're
very
6'3", so they really do have that physical presence around the other cast.
Yeah, exactly. And they're both, they can do the stunts and when required and stuff like that. So they have a definite physical presence. And it lends it to them kind of seeming otherworldly in a way. Not that the rest of the cast is all 4'6", but they definitely look smaller in comparison.
Yeah, it's really cute. There's a episode right after the film noir episode called Detective Amenadil.
Mm-hmm.
And for him to just show up and he's like wanting to talk to the detective and decides to help because a lot of it takes place at a nunnery.
Mm-hmm.
And all these nuns just kind of flock to him and they can't stop staring at him. And they don't know why.
Right.
You as the viewer know, oh, well, he's an angel. Well, they probably get some sense of that.
Yeah.
But it's really kind of fun to see Amenadil get to take on the little detective role there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's done really well. It's written really well. As humorous as it is and as light as it is, it still has moments that are emotional, that it sometimes can get dark, but not super dark. I mean, this isn't, Seven. This isn't about, taking you to a dark, dark place.
And they have fun with the devil face.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we don't really get to see Mazakeen's demon face very often.
I think only once or twice in the entire series. Yeah. But she is a demon.
And that also is another... You have several different storylines with a lot of the different characters. You have the detective coming to grips with something that is revealed to her. You have the CSI lady who keeps going after the bad boy. You have Amenadil dealing with what he and the psychiatrist...
Right. Why they're on Earth. Why he's on Earth.
Why he's on Earth. And she has, her issues. You have Dan Espinosa, who's the ex-husband, ex-husband of the detective,
Mm-hmm.
which has always been a little bit of a tension there.
Sure.
And he's still dealing with the loss of a loved one.
Mm-hmm.
And so each character, even Mazakine, ends up having something going on in her life that she's trying to figure out how to deal with.
Right.
So all the characters themselves have their own struggles that they're going with. It's just, are they getting help, or how's the rest of the cast helping to resolve it or make it worse? And there's a lot of really good interactions.
Exactly. And bringing the big bad back into it. His power, in a sense, is manipulation. And everyone has an issue that can be manipulated.
He manipulates your fear.
Mm-hmm.
He's able to just like say one thing and it draws out that fear. Even if that fear is just like a little minicule of sand,
Mm-hmm.
now all of a sudden it's a pebble and then it's a rock.
Right.
And it just starts to get bigger.
Right.
So he's not really doing anything in particular as much as just drawing that out of you.
It makes for a really interesting series. I mean, all of the procedurals of each episode are good, and then the overarching serial is
yeah,
good.
And if you are on Twitter and you keep seeing Michael is a dick, hashtag Michael's a dick, you kind of know where that's coming from now.
Exactly. So yeah, as far as, TV shows go, I can't really recommend this one more. It's not gonna, some shows are great in that they teach you about the world. They're deep. This one is not. It's just fun entertainment, but it's kind of a pinnacle of what this kind of fun entertainment can do.
Its deep moments.
It does have deep moments, actually.
Yeah. No, it still has a lot of underlying issues that if you want to pull from it, you can.
Right.
If you want to watch it just to enjoy it, great. If you want to watch it and kind of get a little bit of a reflection of what's going on in your life and things
Mm-hmm.
like that, you can do that too. I'm really sad about one part of it.
Okay.
And that is, when is the next part of the season?
Right. I know. From what I understand, they didn't actually get to finish filming before shutdown.
I mean, this is a series that I would have no qualms about going back and watching from season 1.
Absolutely.
Because even knowing what's going to happen, it's still such an enjoyable ride.
Exactly. And I should also add, a lot of these shows where there's two leads and there's a little bit of romantic tension or whatever between them, they sort of try and milk will they, won't they, as much as they possibly can. And I have to give Lucifer a lot of credit in that they milked it as long as they could, but not too much. They didn't milk it to the point that you were like, oh, come on, now it's stupid.
Specific reasons for it not going forward before.
Yes.
Because at the end of season 4, you have a big revelation.
Right.
And the other thing that we haven't mentioned is Lucifer does not lie.
Right.
So since season 1, he's been saying he's the devil. I'm Lucifer Morningstar. Yeah, no, I am the devil.
Right. Just, nobody believes him.
And he doesn't call Chloe, who's the detective, Chloe. It's always the detective.
Right.
And I was also just looking at It Never Ends Well for the Chicken again.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently that's the first episode in which he refers to Trixie, her daughter, as Trixie and not the urchin or the child.
Uh-huh.
So he himself is growing.
Season 5, part 2. Can't get here soon enough. Well, thank you, Golden.
You're welcome.
And that's it for this episode. You can find the show notes at theomegabeam.com/92. If you liked this episode, please leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts. It's those reviews that help people who like this stuff find our podcast. If you have any comments or suggestions, please drop us a line at info@theomegabeam.com. Be good to yourselves and each other, and we'll catch you next time.